chưa, anh bấm chưa? Dạ, đăng thâu không?
Dạ, đăng thâu đó.
Most venerable Bante Buddha and venerable Jyotigo and venerable members of the Mahasangha and dear friends, dear disciples and participants. So, even though I did not understand the speech presented by Venerable Mahatera, I believe that it was a very entertaining and very meaningful speech. And I'm going to talk about science, which may not be that entertaining. My topic is the Buddhism and science. What is the meaning of science? Which may not be that entertaining. My topic is the Buddhism and science. What is the meaning of science? Science can be best defined as the knowledge gained through systematic thinking. Buddhism, of course, you know what it is, the teaching of the Buddha. First of all, let me make a very surprising statement that might surprise you. Without the Buddha, without the teaching of the Buddha, modern science would not have existed. It's surprising, isn't it? But it is true. The origin of the modern science goes back to the 5th century BC. There were kind of thinkers called sophists. Georgius, Hippias, Critias, they are called sophist thinkers. Their rational thought is commonly, generally considered as the beginning of modern science. I made a research. Actually, that research is the dissertation for my PhD. In that research, I discovered that these Greek rational thinkers introduced their rational thought by following and by learning the teaching of the Buddha, Buddhist rational thought. Just 50 years after Buddha passed away, Buddhist thoughts went to Greece. Between India and Greece, there was the Persian Empire. The Persian Empire had captured a part of India and a part of Greece. And the Persian Empire had introduced one common language for India and Greece. So both Indians and Greek thinkers used the same language to communicate with Persia. In that process, the Greece was in a dark age. So Greek thinkers began to travel to India and learned Buddhist rational thinking. History records that at least 5 ancient Greek thinkers had gone to India or they learned Buddhism in Persia. So what is the Buddhist rational thought? You should have heard about the Kalama Sutra. Buddhist rational thought means you have to reject speculations. If you reject speculations, your mind is pure. You get the right understanding. In the Kalama Sutra, Buddha introduced don't take anything because you find it, because you have heard. Don't take anything because you have found it in your religious scriptures. Don't take anything because it's logical. It belongs to a certain theory, or your master is a great teacher. But if you investigate clearly and if you find that this is right, this is correct, this is useful, and this is profitable, then accept it. That's the Buddha's teaching. Georgius is the first person to imitate this scientific theory, and that is the very beginning of the Western science. Therefore, even though we do not know, most of us are not aware, the modern rational thought And the modern scientific thought is largely indebted to the Buddha's teaching. Therefore, it's quite correct and reasonable and agreeable to say that the modern scientific knowledge is largely based on the Buddha's rational thinking. So, but the modern science goes step by step through trial and error. You make mistakes. And today you say something is true, but tomorrow say something that is wrong. Some 20 years ago, eating this spicy food, this hot food, this chilies, peppers, what you ate today. Some 20 years ago, scientists said, oh, don't eat that. It can cause cancer. So you were scared. So stop eating hot peppers. And after another 10 years, they said, oh, that's okay. It doesn't cause cancer. So you are a little bit cautious, but you started eating. But now scientists say, in fact, the hot peppers can prevent cancer. So everybody started eating hot peppers. What does it mean? It goes through trial and error. Today you say something and tomorrow say something else. Don't take these modern scientific views as absolute truths. They are not absolute truths. Some 50 years ago they said our behavior partly hereditary and partly environmental. 50% comes from heredity. These genes, they did not use that word those days. It's heredity. And 50% from environment. So you said, okay, that's acceptable. But in 1970s, behaviorist came. Behaviorist E.F. Skinner, and he passed away recently. He said, no, everything comes from the environment. Give me this child, I will make this child a scientist. This child a doctor. This child a proctor. This child a scientist. So everything is from the environment, not from heredity. Then all the parents thought, oh, we can make these children great people. But of course they got in trouble because they could not. In 1980s, they discovered genes, and again they went back. Oh, a lot of things are genetic. A lot of things are genetic. So they are biological. Then you thought, oh, they are biological, you cannot change it. So what do? We are born with that, we cannot change it. But again, now scientists say, even though they are biological, still your mind can change it. Okay, so again we come to Buddhist philosophy. Your mind can activate and deactivate some genes. So even though you are born with anger, by birth you are a very angry person, you can switch that off with effort, with meditation, with loving kindness meditation, you can switch it off. And you can activate another gene, love and compassion gene, so you can develop love and compassion. So, see, all this during last 50 years, what they have said is not reliable, not dependable. Don't say that this scientist said this theory, so that is true, don't take it. So it goes through trial and error. So what's the difference between modern science and the Buddha's teaching? The Buddha's teaching is a supreme science which can never go wrong. Why? Because the Buddha himself understood it. He realized it. He practiced it. It comes with self-conviction and self-realization. So Buddhist scientific theories can never be challenged. You know the term eternal Buddhist scientific theory is everything is impermanent. Everything is that can never be challenged. Now scientists have discovered atoms, small particles, right? Even nothing exists. All scientists say that everything is always a flux, a changing. Everything continues to change. That is the Buddha's scientific theory. It can never be challenged. And another scientific theory Buddha presented is that greed and ill will are the source of suffering. If you have greed and ill will within you, that can create suffering that can never be challenged. And Buddha taught, but inner human suffering can be eliminated. Even though you can change yourself. Now, as I previously mentioned, now scientists say that